Today on Rappler.
Ano pong kailangan nyo ngayon?
Mga pagkain, credit, ganun.
Monsoon rains affect over 230,000 families in central Luzon, part of more than 2 million Filipinos whose lives are disrupted. Experts say the deadly floods in Metro Manila are a man-made disaster. And BMX biker Daniel Kaluwag is the last Filipino standing in the London Olympics. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. It has been an unprecedented 2 days for the Philippines. More than a month's rainfall dumped in 48 hours over the capital and surrounding areas, turning it into a water world. That's the words of the official in charge of handling the crisis. More than 2 million people are affected, nearly 315,000 forced to evacuate to makeshift shelters. The rice fields of central Luzon are now a sea of muddy water. A dike breach in Bacolor, Pampanga submerged nearby towns Candaba and Santo Tomas. Natasha Gutierrez reports.
This is Candaba, Pampanga. Except for the rain, it is eerily silent. Everything is at a standstill a day after the first monsoon rains ravaged the town. Going further into Pampanga is Santo Tomas town. Floodwaters from other towns flow to Santo Tomas after the tail dike in Bacolor exploded. The deluge catches people off guard and submerged most houses. Some of the Santo Tomas townspeople went to Bacolor to help plug the dike.
Residents actually tried to prevent the water from coming in with sandbags, but after 2.5 hours, it had exploded, and this is the result.
Candaba Mayor Jerry Pelayo says this is the worst flooding they've seen in years, worse than Ondoy in 2009.
Napakagrabe nitong sitwasyon natin dito sapagkat kapon nabigla sila. Pumutok yung tail dike. Yung tail dike na yan, yung nanggagaling ng tubig na galing pa ng Poraket. No? Ang problema dito, walang kuryente, tapos wala silang stock na pagkain sa mga evacuation center.
According to government reports, at least 6 are dead in Pampanga, one of the hardest hit areas. Santo Tomas resident Jesse Ortega says he is used to rain in his hometown, but he says this is different. Despite his feeling of doom, Ortega leaves his house and braves the floods to find his children a meal.
Siyempre tao, hindi ba lang kung paano gagawin nila.
Ano pong kailangan nyo ngayon?
Mga pagkain, credit, ganun.
Many are hungry, waiting for rescue. Victims ask for relief, food, clothing, and medicine. Roads are impassable, making the town harder to reach. Residents estimate it will take at least a week before the water disappears. Ortega knows this will happen again, but his immediate concern isn't the dike, but food for his family. Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler, Manila.
Central Luzon, a catch basin for rainfall and water released from dams, is now the focus of government rescue operations. The Defense Department says the monsoon rains affect over 230,000 families. The Philippine News Agency reports 11 killed and 4 others missing. NDRRMC says 7 of the victims drowned, 3 were electrocuted, and 1 suffered a heart attack. In Metro Manila, experts say the deadly floods are less a natural disaster and more the result of poor planning, lax enforcement, and political self-interest. Damaged watersheds, massive informal settlers living in danger zones, and the neglect of drainage systems make the city of 15 million people more vulnerable to floods. Urban planner Nathaniel Einseidel says the Philippines has enough technical know-how and could find the necessary financing to solve the problem, but there's no vision or political will. He says it's a lack of appreciation for the benefits of long-term plans and adds, I haven't heard of a local government that has a comprehensive drainage master plan. Architect Paulo Alcazaran says solutions to flooding must not be dependent on political boundaries. He says it will cost billions of pesos, but we lose billions anyway every time it floods. State Weather Bureau Pagasa ends rainfall warnings over Metro Manila at 12:20 p.m. Thursday. Pagasa records light to moderate rainfall over the metro for the past 2 hours. The alert signals had been erratic throughout Wednesday and early morning Thursday. A red rainfall alert was raised 4:30 p.m. Wednesday when torrential rain was reported over parts of Metro Manila. The alert was down to yellow by 3:30 a.m. Thursday. Despite the removal of rainfall warnings over Metro Manila, some local government units, private schools, and universities suspend classes for Friday, August 10. Log in to Rappler.com for updates on the suspension of classes. President Benigno Aquino III visits evacuees in flood-stricken areas of Metro Manila, promising the government will not abandon them. Aquino makes the rounds in Marikina, Quezon City, Caloocan, and Valenzuela today. He first visits Nangka Elementary School in Marikina, which holds 7,000 evacuees. In a brief speech, Aquino says, "We will not abandon you. None of you will be left behind." He says the government will exert all efforts to reduce flooding in the future. In his visit to Quezon City, the president says he directed the Department of Public Works and Highways to find a permanent solution to the perennial problem of flooding. DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson says the proposal is to create catch basins at the upstream portions of the Marikina River. He says this will allow drainage systems to work efficiently. Wednesday, we gave you a glimpse of a family government tried to relocate in 2003 because their home was built on land vulnerable to landslides. Patricia Evangelista shows us the family's struggles, torn between grief and the need to survive.
Hello.
Jep is the eldest in a family of 9. He lived with his mother and 6 siblings and his father, Jesse, a driver.
Sir, chest lang po. Opo.
Si Jeep, nag-aaral ng second year engineering. Sa December, magiging 25 na siya.
Jesse Bailon built his house 15 years ago on a small hill in Barangay Commonwealth, Fairview, Quezon City. On the morning of the storm that paralyzed Manila, Jesse left home for work at 6 in the morning. He was in a jeep at 7:30 when a neighbor called him.
Tumawag sa akin, ang sabi, pre, bumalik ka, may nangyari. Nung paglapit ko sa bahay namin, marami ng tao sa paligid at may nagsabi, Jis, naguhuan yung bahay nyo. Nandyan yung pamilya mo sa ibaba. At sumigaw ako na, may buhay pa ba sa inyo dyan? Ang sagot ng jeep, nandito ko naipit, dahan-dahan.
Jesse pulled Jep out himself. He saw his second son Jethro inside the rubble of the house.
Maitim ng dulo ng paa niya. Sabi ko, Diyos ko po, wala na, na to. So, kinakalkal pa rin namin kahit gano'n na mangyari. Wala nang buhay.
The rescuers kept coming, and Jesse kept digging.
Tapos, yun na, kalkal kami ng kalkal. Sige ng kalkal, hanggat umabot ng hapon na nakuha silang lahat doon kasama yung mga kids.
8 died, 5 his children, and 3 his grandchildren. His wife was found alive, but passed away later that night in the hospital. Aside from Jep, another daughter survived. She was on her way to school when the house caved in.
Inasikaso ko muna itong anak ko, kailangan makasurvive. Makasurvive kasi ilan na lang kami natitira.
Jesse does not know where the hospital money will come from, but he will save this one son.
Siguro paminsan-minsan sasagi sa isip ko na parang di ko matanggap kasi sariwang-sariwa nakikita ko kung anong nangyari doon sa mga hinuhugot, mga hinukay na nangyari sa bahay namin. Sariwa pa sa isipan ko kaya ayaw ko muna makita yung lugar muna namin noon.
Patricia Evangelista, Rappler, Quezon City.